What's up, beautiful people? This is Sharla Stevens and the Ancestors with Healing Racism in Schools. And this is, where is it? 3 questions every teacher should ask themselves. Okay, so 3 questions every teacher should ask themselves. And the very first question every educator should ask themselves, whether you are new to education, whether you have been in education for a while, whether you are a school leader, a principal, superintendent. Question number 1, who do you serve? Who do you serve? So the reason why you want to ask yourself this question is you need to know who you serve. You need to know if you're there to serve the powers that be, right? So there's a quote that I really love. It's Jerome Bennet Jr. And he says, in an oppressive system, you are either a revolutionary teacher or you're an oppressive one, right? And so when you think about this question, who do you serve? Do you serve the institutions and the powers that be that want to maintain and keep white supremacy at play? Do you serve the institutions that want to ban critical race theory, that want to put a muzzle on having conversations about systematic racism? Do you serve that, or do you serve the students? Do you serve the students who are the most vulnerable, right? When you think about who are the most vulnerable people on our planet, it is our Black and brown students, specifically our Black and Indigenous students in our schools. They are forced to go to our institutions where they are not protected, they are not respected, they are not appreciated, they're not valued, and we have students who are committing suicide because they're being bullied at our schools and they're not being protected, like Black kids who are choosing to who feel that it's better to end their lives than continue to not be protected and to be assaulted at our schools, right? So who do you serve? Why are you here? Who is it that you serve? Do you serve the powers that be? Or are you here to really make a difference for our most vulnerable students? Because this is a question I constantly ask myself. And when new initiatives were being brought up, or we're in a meeting and we're discussing things, I always came back to who do I serve? Why am I here? And that is what drove my behavior, right? That is what had me taking risk, and that is what had me speaking up, because it all came back to who I serve. And who I serve is the little marginalized Black girl, right? Because that's who I was when I was in these schools, where I was the only Black girl in an all white environment. I hated that. I hated going to school. The harassment, the neglect, just the ways that you're hyper. Everybody can see you, but nobody can see you, and it's just the way that the racism is just everywhere, and there's nobody looking out for you. It's terrible. So when I was in education, and even now, I think about how can I make sure that people don't suffer the way I suffer. The other little Black girls are not suffering the way that that I suffered when I was in school. Second question, you need to ask, what are your core values? What are the things that you're not willing to compromise on? So when I was in the classroom, one of the things I told myself is I don't want to teach for money, right? I told myself I'm not going to teach for money. And what I meant by that was I don't want to be one of these people that is just one of these teachers that is here just because I need a paycheck, right? I need to pay my bills, so I'm going to be here. I said, no, I'm going to be here because I love students, because I want to serve students. And if I can't walk that walk, then I don't need to be here. I'm not going to be one of these bitter, mean teachers who just despises, students, and is just, just needs to get paid. So no, that was one of my core values. And there's just certain things that I'm not going to compromise on. One of my core values is that I'm here for Black and brown students, and I'm not going to compromise on that. And any opportunity I have to advocate for them or speak up for them, I will, regardless of what targets it puts on my back or what relationships I'm not going to have, right? Like I serve Black and brown students. My core values that I do not compromise on, or that education, is a gateway for everybody, right? That it truly is super racist. So I'm not compromising on those values. What are the things that you're not willing to compromise on, that you stand tall and stand firm in, regardless of what changes are happening in education or what trends are happening, right? So last year it was trendy to be anti-racist. This year it's trendy to be racist again. So regardless of what's happening in the environment, what are your core values? Where do you stand? And that all comes back to, what is your legacy? Where do you what do you want to stand for? One of the benefits, I guess, of the stress of teaching is that I had a lot of health scares, right? And maybe you can relate to this. I had a lot of health scares. I was having a lot of chest pains. I was going to the emergency room thinking that there was something really wrong with me. And during the time when I was really facing my mortality, which I think it's important for us to always think about the fact that we are going to die, I reflected on what's my legacy? What have I done? And at that time, I wasn't public. I was doing amazing things in my classroom, but I was not sharing that with the world. I was not putting that. I didn't have a Facebook group, which you should join, the Anti-Racist Educator, Fighting White Supremacy in Schools. I didn't have a Facebook group. I didn't have a podcast, Healing Racism in Schools is my podcast. You should check that out. Didn't have that. Didn't have my presence, in the online. So I used to have 14,000 followers on LinkedIn before they kicked me off. For being so outspoken about these issues. But my point is that I was thinking about my legacy. I was thinking about if I die today, nobody's going to know what I stand for other than my students, right? And that's still important, but I really wasn't putting myself out there. And so that's why I started Healing Racism in Schools is my business, which offers professional development for educators and anybody who faces any child serving a business, is because I really thought about what do I want to leave behind, right? I'm going to die. Nobody makes it out of life alive. What do I want to leave behind? How can I make sure that my voice outlives me? And so that even when I'm gone, that the mission continues. So this is a really important question for you to ask yourself as an educator or somebody who serves children. What is your legacy? Because you're going to die, folks. You're going to die. You're not going to live forever, but your legacy can, live for a very, very, very long time. I hope my legacy lives for generations and generations, right? So what legacy are you creating? How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be known? These students, like everybody you're trying to impress, all these principals and superintendents, everybody you're trying to kiss up to, they're all going to die. And who's going to be left is your students. And they're going to either remember you as somebody who helped make things possible for them and helped end oppression and helped eradicate white supremacy and help create more opportunity, or they're going to remember you as somebody who was oppressive and who stood in their way and made things harder for them. And I need my money to feel good. I can't just be making money any old kind of way. I need my money to feel good. And I want to know that whatever, I do in the world, that I do it with integrity and that I stand on my legacy and that I stand on, what my core values are. And I call myself Sharla Stevens and the ancestors because I owe a debt to the ancestors, and they didn't go through everything that they went through for me to just sit comfortably and just be comfortable and not fight. The only reason I made it is because there were other Black educators who looked out for me when I was in my white supremacist schools. And so I feel a need to do the same thing and make sure that our Black kids especially are protected, because what's happening to them in these schools is egregious and it's just not okay and unacceptable. So I am Sharla Stevens and the Ancestors. I am the owner of Healing Racism in Schools. My past clients have included San Ramon Valley School District, San Francisco Unified School District, Upward Bound, St. Cloud University, variety of different institutions, colleges, schools, etc. And if you are in need of anti-racist coaching, you're going to want to hit me up on my website. So Sharla Stevens Consulting. You can also email me at Healing Racism in Schools, or you can schedule a call with the link that is in the notes. So thank you very much. Again, this is 3 questions every educator should ask themselves. And just to recap again, first question is, who do you serve? So not serving, your paycheck, not serving, the institutions, but making sure that you're really there for our kids who are desperately in need of somebody to advocate for them and help them make sense of this world, right? Who do you serve? What are your core values? What are you willing to not compromise on, right? So what do you stand for, right? So what are your core values? And then finally, what is your legacy? How do you want to be remembered? Because you will be remembered either as an oppressive, teacher, or oppressive, person, or as a revolutionary one. How you want to be remembered is up to you. This is Sharla Stevens with Healing Racism in Schools. Thank you.